want people to understand that they're not alone, that there are other people feeling exactly the way they're feeling, that their behavior is not insane, that they have a disease, and it's not their fault.
It looks like things aren't totally closed with Matthew Perry's death. While his death was ruled as accidental, law enforcement now believes multiple people should be charged in his death.
Everybody knew this thing was fishy, and guess what? Finally, they're doing something. They think there is a female celebrity that is involved with the passing of Matthew Perry.
Matthew Perry's passing became a worldwide controversy due to the speculations regarding his cause of death, and it looks like we finally have an accurate depiction of what might have happened. You'll be shocked to learn the details of his overdose and who exactly is to blame for what happened. Matthew's death, nearly 9 months ago, is still a focal point in media as a criminal investigation surrounding his demise has been ongoing for quite a while now, and in a shocking turn of events, it looks like it might even lead to some arrests. And it seems that we have Matthew's stepfather, Keith Morrison, to thank for that. According to sources, Keith has been heavily pushing for a thorough examination into the true cause behind Matthew's death. An insider reported that Keith has the contacts, the soft skills, and decades of experience in dealing with local and national law enforcement to make a real difference in the investigation into Matthew's death. According to them, it was Keith's direct involvement that has significantly increased the chances of criminal charges, as it looks like he will stop at nothing to make sure that his stepson gets the justice he deserves. Because Keith is involved, getting on the phone and calling people himself, the chances of there being real criminal consequences in this case have skyrocketed. According to the investigation, Matthew Perry passed due to the acute effects of a ketamine overdose, something he was using to treat his depression with. However, the amount found in his system pointed to it being used outside of his treatments. It looks like Keith has specifically been pressuring the LA Police Department as well as the Drug Enforcement Administration to dig deeper into who exactly supplied Matthew with the ketamine. Despite Keith's journalistic background, the investigation is far from professional duty, as he sees it to be a deeply personal mission driven by love and loss, and not just because of his wife. He loved Matthew like a son and didn't want his death to have been in vain. This isn't about revenge on the people who got Matthew his drugs. It's about sending a loud, clear message to the entire world for the real dangers, not just in using hard drugs, but in providing them to an addict. However, Keith's mission is about more than simply finding those responsible, as it's about raising awareness of the severe risks associated with the drug trade, something Matthew himself would be extremely proud of. Matthew has been very open about his struggles with addiction, even sharing a lot of his experiences in his memoir, Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing. He certainly didn't shy away from discussing his battles with substance abuse, making it clear that his life's mission was far greater than his fame from Friends. I've said this for a long time. When I die, I don't want Friends to be the first thing that's mentioned. I want to help people to be the first thing that's mentioned. And I'm going to live the rest of my life proving that. That being said, the investigation is actually drawing to a close, as law enforcement believe that they might have found a satisfying end to it. The police even believing that they can confidently charge multiple people in the case. The final decision on whether or not to press charges will rest with the U.S. Attorney's Office. However, there have been no news on whether or not the office actually plans on doing so. His passing was ruled accidental, with an autopsy report revealing that the effects of ketamine ultimately ended his life. However, there were also multiple other factors to be considered, such as drowning, coronary artery disease, and even the effects of buprenorphine, a medication used to treat opioid use disorder. According to the autopsy report, Perry was undergoing ketamine infusion therapy at the time of his death. Ketamine is often used for its anesthetic properties, has also been found to work well in treating depression and chronic pain. However, its misuse can have fatal consequences, as we have tragically seen in Matthew's case. What makes the whole thing even more tragic is the way that Matthew decided to deal with his addiction in the last years of his life. As he wrote in his memoir, "I wanted to share when I was safe from going into the dark side again. I had to wait until I was pretty safely sober and away from the active disease of alcoholism and addiction to write it all down. I was pretty certain that it would help people if I did." His self-reflection is definitely yet another tragic detail in his passing, as fans all over the world hoped that it had nothing to do with the demons he had been fighting all his life. As the investigation into Matthew's passing progresses, Some interesting details have surfaced regarding potential suspects. Although the names of most who might face charges are still kept hidden, one pretty high-profile individual has come under questioning. Charlie Sheen's ex-wife, Brooke Mueller. Brooke has reportedly been questioned multiple times about her knowledge surrounding Matthew's untimely death, since it turns out that she had been pretty close to him and his life of substance abuse. Authorities have reportedly even confiscated her phone and laptops as part of their investigation. Matthew and Brooke seemingly developed an unexpected friendship during their time together at a rehab facility, bonding over their shared experiences in Hollywood. Knowing how important this time in Matthew's life had been, Brooke has been made one of the prime people in the investigation. According to a source, Brooke has been completely cooperative while the investigation has been going on and is taking the case very seriously, as she has even hired lawyers and participated in meetings with the police in order to help the case as much as possible. It doesn't seem like Brooke is in any way a suspect. However, she could be a great deal of help for the police if she was involved in Matthew's personal life, as she could possibly give details to the police that very few would know about. From everything we know about the investigation, multiple people are facing actual charges. However, what kind of charges exactly can get a little complicated. According to sources, we might be looking at charges for the distribution of controlled substances which result in death, or even conspiracies to distribute a controlled substance that then result in death. Former prosecutor Nima Rahmani spoke on the case, saying, "This primarily is what is used to charge drug dealers, but it can be used to charge pill mills and doctors as well. Doctors that are overprescribing and not seeing patients absolutely would be charged under this section." According to her, there are also different possible sentences for these kinds of offenders, all depending on different factors. If you distribute drugs and someone dies, there's different mandatory minimums. There's even mandatory life depending on the number of factors. Tracy Walter, a former CIA and FBI special agent, explained that we will likely not see any kind of homicide charge, but that the suspects could face charges like mail fraud. They're looking at the illegal transportation of drugs across state lines to people that they have not been prescribed. Obviously, that's a crime. I think that's probably where they started, and that's most likely the evidence that they would use if that's the case. Those are the charges I could see, because I don't see a homicide charge. She also suggests that Matthew or someone close to him might have been doctor shopping, which involves going to multiple doctors across different states to get different medication prescribed. And if the doctors did indeed prescribe medication that was then sent across state lines, then it's possible that whoever was doctor shopping could be held accountable. I don't know if that's the case, but if it's true, that person can also be held accountable just as much as a doctor prescribing Dr. Asterisk GGS across state lines, which is a federal offense. A licensed doctor has also come forward to explain what exactly doctors are and are not allowed to do in these situations. I can prescribe something to you if you are physically in my state of licensure, but I can't write a script to someone in another state, and I can't send any prescription drugs through the mail to a patient in another state. That is a practice not supported by a state license. However, even with all these details into place and the investigation nearing its end, we might still have to wait a while for any sort of charges to drop. According to Tracy Walter, it might even take years. You're dealing with federal agencies, so it takes a while. One case I worked on took 4.5 years. They have to convene a grand jury, then they present all the evidence, and then the grand jury decides if they want to indict the person or multiple people and press charges. Once indicted, they can make arrests. If not, it goes back to the state and they can decide to proceed or not. And when it comes to the U.S. Postal Service's involvement, federal prosecutor Caleb Mason explained that it is possible mail has been found containing illegal substances. The postal inspectors probably got involved in executing a warrant. Obviously, there was some piece of mail that was found that somebody thought was significant.
According to Caleb, the U.S. Attorney's Office has a special force dedicated to investigating incidents exactly like this, meaning that if any sort of mail fraud was involved, it will certainly come up in the case. If somebody dies of an accidental drug overdose, there should be an investigation into where the drugs came from. The normal practice is to try and do an investigation into why people died, if they died in a way that might be criminal. However, he also shared that LA County's extensive drug-related deaths makes this harder to investigate, as there are simply so many cases. Fortunately, Matthew's high profile means that the case might have a chance of getting processed faster. Were you shocked by where the investigation is going? Let me know down below, and don't forget to check out this other video for more.